so we've let our yeast activate for 5 minutes, and you can see that this is working because of the bubbles that you can see right in the middle there. And so obviously that is the yeast eating the sugar and producing the carbon dioxide. And so now it's time for us to then mix in our dry ingredients and do some kneading. So now that I've put my bowl on my stand mixer and put the dough hook attachment on, I'm going to go ahead and add all of my dry ingredients. So this is 3.5 cups of flour. Remember, when you measure flour, to spoon and level it in, and 3/4 of a teaspoon salt, and then I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and that just gives it a good flavor. And I'm going to go ahead and beat this on low speed for 2 minutes with my dough hook. Okay, so our dough has been kneaded a little bit, but we need to knead it for about 3 to 4 minutes more. And remember, we want to knead this because every time we knead it, we develop more gluten, and you want that to happen in yeast breads. So I've dusted my counter with flour, put the dough on it, and then I put some flour on top of the dough, and I'm going to go ahead and just start kneading. So right now it's pretty soft, so I'm just going to kind of fold it back on itself, get some flour on my hands, okay, and just kind of push it. So you see that I fold, push, rotate, fold, push, rotate. And I like to pick my dough up because you don't want to see any dough sticking on it. So I'm just going to recoat my hands with flour, fold, and I use the palms of my hands. And really, I want to keep doing this until the dough is really just one cohesive dough. A good rule of thumb to know you're done is if you poke the dough in the middle, it will spring back as if you never poked it. Now that my dough has been kneaded, I have gone ahead and put my dough in a bowl that has been sprayed with nonstick spray, and I'm going to cover it with a warm, damp towel. And the reason you want to do that is because you want to create that warm environment for the yeast to find the sugar and then release the carbon dioxide, which will then rise our dough. And so this process takes about 2 hours, so we'll pick back up in 2 hours. Okay, so we have given our dough time to rise, and you can see the magic of the yeast as the leavening agent. My dough was much smaller than this when it started. And so now my favorite part happens. So after you let it rise for the first time, you punch it down, because right now what's happening is the yeast it's kind of napping again. And so it's ate in the sugar, it has produced the carbon dioxide, and now it's kind of in this stagnant mode. So by punching it down, we distribute some of the carbon dioxide that is in here now, and we also reactivate, we re-wake up the yeast so that way it will eat the last bit of sugar during the final bake. So when you punch it down, you literally just punch it down. And I hope you could hear, but you could actually hear the gas going ooh and releasing, okay? So what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna go ahead and turn the dough onto my floured surface, and we're just gonna give it a quick knead again. So I have turned my dough out onto my floured counter, and what I wanna point out here is these kind of bubbles right here. Okay, so what that is that's the carbon dioxide bubbles that you're seeing. And so that's why I like doing that yeast experiment we did yesterday or earlier in the week, because what's going on inside the bottle is exactly what's happening in your dough. And so now I'm just going to knead it just a teeny little bit, and really it's just kind of bring the dough together again, and just kind of get that last bit of stickiness. So this recipe is actually enough for about 2 12-inch pizza crusts. So if you're gonna make this for your home cooking lab, the recipe is posted in Classroom, but also just know you might wanna cut it in half. So now my dough is kneaded, okay, really just one last final time, and then I'm gonna be rolling it out. All right, so I've taken a smaller chunk of my dough. Again, I have my surface floured, And I'm following my rolling pin, and I'm just going to roll this out now. Now, each time I roll this out, you're gonna notice, here, I'll do it real quick. It wants to shrink back in like this, so it kind of pulls back on itself. That's the gluten. That's the gluten doing its thing, providing that elasticity and the texture. So I'm just gonna roll this out until I get it the size that I am happy